Good evening.
Hi. Evening.
I want you to know that after 11 years, the nerves don't really go away. So, and I'm sitting there going, oh my gosh, I've done this before, but I think that's okay if you be accountable. So you're going to get a few handouts that I will address as the presentation goes on. Okay? Thank you. One more time. Thank you. So the very first handout you have, and up here because it is hard to read, is a review of our plan from last year. Whenever you see some blue items, they're either met or they're met and ongoing. Because oftentimes in our school, we have lots of objectives that sometimes we can meet within a year, but it's also something that's so good that we want to continue, or we need to continue for the next year. So you have those there. A lot of the things that we are doing, as you can see, ongoing is almost on every one. So I'm not going to spend a lot of time here. We're going to cover those as we go on. Okay? So one thing I'd like to review is our Missouri Assessment Program Math Index scores. So this is comparing 2018 to 2019. And as you can see, 2018 in the blue and 2019 in the red, we have increased each year in ELA, English Language Arts, and Math, which we're very proud of. Our teachers and students work very hard. This was the first year for our science assessment. So our science scores is compared to Missouri because it is our very first year, so it is a baseline year. We scored above the state average by 21 points, which was very good for a beginning year. So one of the other data points we use is the NWEA scores. And last year I came to you, and that's what we based a lot of our school improvement plan on because of with some of our data. And so the NWEA is our local assessment. It is the Northwest Educational Assessment. It is a nationally normed test that is given by thousands of schools. And so it gives us data, because we give the assessment 3 times a year, it gives us data in which we can use to help students improve within language usage, reading, and math. And so these are our 7th grade scores. And as you can see, I look at it at the fall. We give the test again in January, and last year we gave it in May. And as you can see in 7th grade, thank you, we are showing an increase as we go through, which is what we want to show.
What is the way trying to tell us as far as the score, or do we just know?
We want improvement. So the scores are a Rjh unit, and they are nationally normed, which gives a score that if I look at a 220 score, it will actually tell me where kids are at in the curriculum. It tells them exactly where they're at and what they're ready for. So it gives teachers much more pointed information when they look at each student individually.
Okay, thank you.
Got it? No, it's on there. So this is our 8th grade scores. When we gave it in the fall, which was in September, and again in January, and again in May, if you look at language usage, looks some increase from fall to May. Look at reading, it kind of took a little bit of just a small decrease, but math made a large increase. Some of the things we associate to this is the timing of the test. Our kids in 8th grade take English, math, and science tests in math. We left the math test, the state test, one day, and we immediately went into NWA the next day, and we put them through 2, 4, 6 more days of testing. So we're not positive that was a really great move on our part, but we are going to adjust that this year. But the data from this assessment is so good, and the reading on it is rigorous, which is fine, which is what we want. So we're still using this. Very impressed with what they have done for the first year of giving it and going through and learning. And this year we are taking those scores and looking at it because we now have comparison data from the students in 7th grade coming into 8th grade. So the data, as time goes on, is going to become more accurate for us in working with students, which is one of our school improvement points as we continue to go through, is working with kids individually to differentiate and reach them where they're at and then how to grow them. So growth is one of our big focuses. And reading. So as we transition into our 1920 plan, I have just a few pictures up there because I'm like, it could all be words or we could share a little bit. Some of these pictures are on our Facebook page, and I'll tell you about our Facebook page in a minute. And thanks to Mrs. Servos, I have embraced the social media world. But we have implemented a new program in PE, which is a strength and conditioning class. That's the picture at the bottom left. There's a picture in shop. The right-hand side kind of looks like a game, but it is actually periodic battleship. So they use the periodic table where they are learning different elements and they're going through and they're actually playing battleship. And then the top two is Carter Chance, and the right is Maddie Pence, who were speakers at our Veterans Day Assembly, which, by the way, you can view on our Facebook page. There's multiple posts out there. So goal 1, we have a general overall goal, which is all students will demonstrate growth in all academic areas for quality educational program enhanced with technology. So what does that look like in every department? If you go to the next page on the handout that I gave you, you have a sample of the school improvement work that our teachers do. When they get into groups, they work together and they create plans. And so when you look at those, you will see that they are data-driven. They are very specific in their strategies tied to their professional development, as well as the work that we do on a building level, which is our reading initiative, and as well as what they are going to work on within their departments. So those are for you to look at to see the detail that they actually go into, and I work with each department PLC team leadership member to go over it, and then we also, between the two of us, make it into their meetings so you can see what they do. So that is just for you to look at to get an idea of what we do. This is an ongoing document that we look at, and they have to report back to me in January, and they report back to me at the end of the year as far as their progress. So it's in a shared drive. They have access to it at all times. So when you look at that, that looks very vague, but it is very specific when we get into our departments. And I don't have enough time to show you every department, plus our team, plus our governance team, and all of those things. But this is just a sample of what we do. So when you look at our first strategy, one of the things that we did last year is we implemented reading strategies, and we had the Regional Professional Development Center come in, work with us, provide some professional development on reading across the curriculum. We are still continuing to do that, but using our own staff this year as far as teaching them what a close read looks like, and as well as how to implement that within the curriculum. So one of the things that everyone will have is to increase the reading ability of students. Last year I tweeted a video of them teaching a reading strategy within a math classroom, and we did it in PE, we did it in science. History has read like a historian, so our teachers have embraced that and are moving forward with it all across the board. We also will use our math and ELA MAP scores, and we're going to use our NWEA scores and our Rjh unit score and look at the differences from fall to spring, with January being the benchmark date, so we can look for improvement. Teachers are piloting individual goals as far as our NWA with our students at this time. Our PLC teams or our departments will set SMART goals, which is what you see there, and the teams identify instructional resources needed to achieve their goals in using the building's state assessment data and the NWEA RIT or the Rjh score, again looking at fall of 19 to spring of 20. We're also making a concerted effort to evaluate our intervention time. So I have brought in Dr. Herman Blau, who has been working with our teachers and has created a teacher model from the ground up. I surveyed my teachers about what we thought we needed and how we needed to improve intervention time. That was really, really hard because I sat through one session, had my interview with him, and then I walked out. So he had all day long with my teachers. He compiled the data and then brought it back, and I'm sitting there going, oh no. But it was really good to see and read and investigate things from their point of view. It was funny because the teachers thought that I had something in mind of what to do, and I had absolutely nothing in mind what to do. I wanted them to build it, and they did. And we're in the process of revising it and revamping it as we go, because that's what good teachers do, is we do that. So that is the very last thing that we have done, but we are also using our data to do that. We're also found a way to identify in ELA in our new textbook a way to actually identify some scores by standard. So I've been working with our English teachers to do that as well. In Goal 2, we talk about technology integration skills. We have 5 new teachers this year, so they are going through a lot of rigorous technology training, which is good. We are utilizing our technology instructional specialists. We are very blessed to have them on our building, so anytime we need something, they're very close. We provide access to technology training to all of our staff, and we have gone to, instead of increase, we have gone to maintain the technology resources available. But there is a Chromebook cart in every core classroom, so that's every math, English, social studies, and science classroom in our building. And now we are at the part where we are at replacements, which is very good for us. We also have a checkout cart that is available to the others as well. In one classroom, we actually have a mix of a few iPads and along with some Chromebooks coming in. So we're doing very well in that aspect. Okay, any questions so far? This is the number of devices that we have in our building, and I have ran this over and over for you, and I took off 16, 17, but it's important to see that we have 712 Chromebooks in our building that are sitting there available for students to use. A little bit more than our enrollment, we're not quite one-to-one, but because we put them in the classrooms. But a student has access to them at any time that they need them, and I think those are really good, impressive numbers. And so the one laptop is the checkout laptop that we keep in there for teachers if computers go down. Goal 3, climate and culture.
Good evening. My goal is to share with you. With this goal, one of the things which we take a look at in our collaborative culture as we meet with groups of teachers, our committees, etc., and we form this goal. One of the things we want to start new this year was the creation of a social and emotional learning leadership team. And we've got the members of that team in place, and they'll be going off soon to the school wellness symposium. And that team will be working with our other teams, like our restorative and character team, so that we can share and disseminate what we learn to also provide more opportunities for our students to grow in activities in social and emotional learning. We continue to use our restorative practices that we have worked on and adopted over the last few years, and this year we're working on working with students so that they feel like they have voice and input in the classroom, helping them develop social skills within a group. We're doing what's called community circles with them. They'll both build relationships and empathy and respect. We still have our pyramid of interventions, which we've had in the past, but we've been able to go ahead and add to it some more options, which, like for example, we have available that you're familiar with now through the program, and also some options that we have to work with students with various restorative practices and activities. Students' feelings of belonging and involvement. I was sitting prepared for this, pondering about this myself, and I noticed that lots of our students, and this is an occasional thing that teachers point out, Sherry, they're very screen focused themselves. They're very the level of communication they share seems to be a little smaller with texting and vocabulary and stuff like that, and so. One of the things that we're working to do in changing this culture is some of these activities and other things where students communicate with each other face to face. And I've been encouraging some teachers to plan some activities. One of the things that I learned through my survey last year was about along with the instruction and assessment, those were areas I wanted to grow. And so we've had some conversations about activity and interaction days where they can take their learned material and apply it, either using through technology or using it working in groups and fun activities to take it to that higher depth of knowledge and practice and and make a class a class lesson that involves more interaction and working together. We continue to work to increase our parent involvement and engagement at RJH. We survey our parents in March. We have our parent organization, which is currently working on our winter decorations for the building to keep the building looking like a wonderful school for the students. And we continue to work at find areas that students can become involved and feel more a sense of belonging. We've had a couple more clubs this year. We have several clubs. We now have SCCLA. We have chess club back. We've lost it for a little while. And we have robotics also. We have the daily and the quarterly announcements that we're getting out to parents. Dr. Fulton's going to talk a little bit more about some of our pages and some of the other ways which we're hoping to increase communication and reaching parents, etc. And then as far as our transition with our students coming in, we're still doing our orientation and our various activities with them to get them ready to come from middle school over. Plus, I do some home visits with some that I anticipate may struggle with the transition as input from the middle school administrators will provide me, which I'll share with you about those again in the past. But this year we've added a little bit more to it. Dr. Fulton and I, I'll let her click to the next slide. We have wanted to increase those getting out and actually recognizing and celebrating our students of the month. So we have a couple pictures here. Dr. Fulton has the poster, which we went out and congratulated. These are two of our students of the month. Cool. This is Seth Coolman, is the one on the left. It's actually one of our staff members' sons. And then the other one is Shelby Blake, and another student of the month. We have two students of the month, 7th grade and 8th grade one each month. And we have a teacher of the month. But this opportunity, and we're putting together some folks to go with us and allow us these celebrations. We're giving us more chance to connect with parents and to celebrate success with kids and recognize achievements. Do you have anything more to add about those right now? Okay. The next goal is our attendance goal, which has always been a goal since I've been an administrator at the junior high. It's evolved a little bit. We've gone from just straight percentages to becoming proportional, which means percent of time the students there. So if you say that our goal is 90% proportional, it means the students there 90% of the time, 90% of the days in school. So we had set that goal. I give you some review numbers there, and we had a very pleasant surprise last year. We had one of our largest gains there. We were at 94%. So this year our goal is to get to 95, and we're working hard to get there. Some of the things that we continue to do and are doing, working at that, is we collaborate with our counselors, administrators, and our attendance team to communicate about kids and attendance. We do attendance reports. We also have our daily communication going in and out of our offices about kids and checking in. The parent calls in, and we follow up and check in on kids that are gone after the second day. The first day, if we haven't heard from parents, the second day we try to see if any classmates, friends, etc. know. And once again, our PE coaches see all the kids in the building collaborate weekly with us to pick up reports, see the kids that are most recently gone. And those are the kids that they encourage to come to school, continue to visit with them, to set goals and build relationships with them and encourage them. One of the other discussions that I've had with staff members going back to the previous goal is what activities in the classroom related to learning, and what are the things do students look forward to they set as a goal at the end of the learning unit, etc. And we're looking at some of those which are incentives for students to be involved in the whole learning process of that unit, etc., so they can be involved in the final celebration or the final activity which may involve some of that we talked about earlier, higher order thinking, depth of knowledge, and some tech integration for some neat use of learned knowledge. We continue to have our attendance and recognitions and celebrations. We've been working on securing various incentives such as prizes, sometimes bulldog bugs, recognizing our kids that they're all week taking care of business. And our Pride Time teachers will work with students also and recognize them when their attendance is excellent. We have realized and have found out that one of the major reasons that junior high or middle school students may not be at school is they may not have either the home environment that supports it, or they may not have, or they may have some social or emotional issues that sometimes allow them to not want to be at school. And so having conversations with them, students that are missing, some of the teachers, and making a point when they miss, you know, to emphasize with them is everything going all right, what's going on. I think that's been positive too, along with the fact that students are able to keep up with their work a little easier now. A lot of it's on Google Classroom, but the attendance is even getting better, which I was concerned when we first started getting so much stuff in the classroom. Some of our kids would be tempted to not attend as often, but this is getting better because we want to be there for the whole, be there for all of it. And then we have some students that we work with. We collaborate with Dr. Fulton and I for counselors, and those students may be really struggling, and we try to get with those students and families and look at support plans and contracts and possibly even short-term and long-term goals that they can get their attendance up to a level that suppose they set, keep them up in their schoolwork and being successful. Any questions?
I've got a couple.
Yep.
How is the student of the month chosen? Is it teacher recommendation?
The teachers nominate it, and once they're nominated, it comes back out for each grade, and then the teachers get to vote.
Great. And then another comment I just want to make is, I have found that I do think a lot of kids don't communicate anymore to each other. I think it's all text and on screen, everything like that. So I'm so glad you all are focusing on that, because it's the skill I think that is being lost. That socialization skill is being lost. So I really think that's great.
With our initiative to raise our reading scores, et cetera, one of the things that continues to come out is a vocabulary. And just, you know, when you have a lower level communication, such as texting and stuff like that, you just don't have as many words, you're not using them. And plus, you don't have face-to-face interaction, you're missing a big piece of
I mean, I notice that in my own family, you know, like at a dinner or something. I'm like, no phones out, you know, they have to talk to each other, but it's something you almost have to make an effort for sometimes anymore.
the things we take for granted.
Exactly.
Cadence, tone, et cetera. There was keys to social, emotional
I'm
indicators.
so glad you're doing that.
How your conversation's going, how it's been received. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
So in goal 5, we're going to talk about, that's our governance goal, and that's how Andy and I operate, and of course our counselors as part of our leadership team. One of the things I was pretty grateful to see tonight was the communication piece on that survey, because that comes up in my survey every year. So that's something I'm always striving to work on. The picture there is a screenshot of the SMORE newsletter that I send out. We're sending it out quarterly because parents get daily announcements. I know they don't always read them, but they get them. And so quarterly we're trying to make it a little bit more meaningful to give them information. We have a counselor's corner within our parent newsletter that goes home called the Dog Dispatch. And then there's a message from me. There's a few highlights of what's gone on throughout the quarter that is already underway for our second quarter at this time. I also use the SMORE to communicate with our staff every week. It's very simple, easy to put together, and very easy for them to read. Based on that feedback from my teachers, they want things in order. of importance. And I found that to be interesting because when I went back to them and asked for the feedback, they said, we want your message at the beginning, and then I always put in a best practice in instruction. So that goes second, so they know it's important, they read it, and then we go from there with important dates and those types of things. So it's interesting, and some of the very important dates that come up go at the very bottom. It's been interesting to hear back from them and to reflect on that process as I go through, especially since that is a way that they, we look at every time. People don't always see communication as what I perceive, so I work on that and try to meet it in various ways, which is part of the social media part. Parents are on Facebook. The kids tell me they're not on Instagram, but some of them are on Instagram, some of them are on Twitter. Twitter is my personal learning network. That is how I communicate with other professionals and things, which is, by the way, how I learned about the news signs, because I just stole that outwardly from Beth Huff and Fulton. I'm not even going to lie about it. If she did it, I'm like, cool, and then we made it happen. So I love that ability to be able to do that and have that network there. In my professional development, I spent quite a bit of time, again, with Beth Huff because I was trying to embrace the social network piece that Gina was saying, oh, come on, Monica, you can do this, and I was a little worried. But having that support of other administrators has been great, as well as our South Central Principals group. That has been wonderful as well. So I work on that all of the time. Part of our focus this year throughout our team is working on that social emotional piece for trauma-informed care and trauma-informed classrooms. So whenever we go on Sunday, it is a full day starting at 8:30 Sunday morning, ending at 3:15 on Monday afternoon of a school wellness symposium put on by the secondary school principals. It's going to be very insightful. So our team is put together. We're going to go, we're going to learn, we're going to come back and put some things in place. I also spoke today with Dr. Frost from Compass Health and talking about maybe some training coming in for teachers, so that has been beneficial as well. And we love our Compass partnership with them. It has gone very well. Very pleased with that piece. And as we go through with those focuses, that's what we're going to do. Of course, surveying our staff and our students and our parents is always very important. But I'm going to be honest, I can't get a lot of parents to give us some feedback some days. Some days it's like when I have 600 kids and I get 3 or 4, it's like, okay, you give it to them, but they just don't take the time to fill it out. So we'll keep pushing that part and keep working on that part. But I have a good parent team together, and so they also give me the feedback as well. So one of the things I'd like for you to do is to go out and like our social media pages. All of our social media pages have the same profile picture, which is the Rolla Bulldog. So that's important for you to know because Facebook has a page out there called Rolla Junior High with JR as junior. Ours is all spelled out. And it actually says Rolla Junior High School Official because people are actually tagging the Rolla JR High rather than our page and our Instagram page and our Twitter page. This is not something that I manage alone. As I continue to grow the teachers in this, they're actually taking ownership and posting things as well. So I'm very happy with that because I just said, I can't manage this alone. To be honest with you, Mrs. Pitts is my Instagram guru. So I'll even send her things and say, okay, send it out and do all your little magic with it. And then it also posts to Facebook and Twitter as well. So right now I'm trying to figure out how to get the picture on Twitter whenever it posts from Instagram. So sometimes it goes twice, once without a picture, once with. That's because Christopher led me to this program called If This Then That. And I'm not sure I have it set up right, but it's getting out there. So we're trying it. So we would love it if you would follow us. That is on the Facebook page. That is where our Veterans Day Assembly is with our speaker. You can see everything that happened, including our choirs. I was very, very pleased. They did not mute our music, which I am like, awesome. That is great. So you can go out and see our Veterans Day Assembly and our speaker. We would invite you to do that. And at the end, the last page that you have is all of the things that we have just talked about put in the same placemat as our district. So everything that we have there ties right back to the district, which is what you will also see within those plans that I showed you that our individual teams create. And thank you. Thank you for allowing me to be here and work with our kids every day and work with you. It is truly a pleasure. Any questions?
Is more like a newsletter template? Is that what you're talking about? Okay.
It is.
Well, you said it a few times and made me a little hungry, so.
I know, I
Checking.
think about s'mores every time. Yes, it is. It's a newsletter template that many use as an easy way. You can click a button, put in a picture, click a button, put in a title and text. You can very quickly put in an event. It also gives a map to the event, so we send that out to parents as well. Mhm, yeah.
Great, lots of good
Yep.
things
All
going on.
right, thank you.
Thank
Thank you so much.